you know that the X in Mega Man X didn't always stand for the main character? For me, and for millions of others, the real star was the guy in red. Zero was the cooler mentor who felt like the heart of the franchise today. I want to walk you through exactly what happened to him, where he went, and why his final fate in Mega Man 04 is one of the most powerful endings in gaming history.
Zero! Hang in there, buddy!
X, I'm always telling you.
So, where did Zero actually come from? And how did the virus start? To understand how Zero died, we have to look at why he was built. It's one of the most poetic ironies in gaming that the greatest hero of the future was built by the greatest villain of the past. According to notes from Keiji Inafune and official Capcom sourcebooks, Zero was the final masterpiece of Dr. Albert Wily. As Dr. Light was building Mega Man X to be a robot with the capacity for human thought and morality, Wily was in a dark basement building a god of destruction. Zero was designed to be the ultimate weapon, like a robot that had an aggressive personality. However, Zero had a major flaw. He was uncontrollable. He was so violent that Wily couldn't even finish him properly, and eventually sealed him away in a capsule, hoping that the Zero would stabilize with time. This brings us to the encounter between Zero and Sigma. And no, this is not a fan theory, and it's established in the Mega Man X4 flashback decades after Wily's death. A unit of Maverick hunters guided by Sigma discovered Zero's hidden lab. Zero woke up in a state of madness and tore Sigma's entire squad to pieces with his bare hands. During this fight, a strange glowing light appeared on Zero's head crystal. This was the Maverick virus, or more accurately, the Wily virus. As Sigma punched the crystal, the virus transferred into Sigma's systems. Now this is the part that blows my mind every time I think about it. The virus acted as a reset for both characters. For Zero, the removal of the virus cured him of his aggression. He became a blank slate, and this allowed Dr. Kane to repair him and turn him into a Maverick hunter. As for Sigma, the virus found a superior host. Because Sigma was a highly advanced commander, the virus evolved into the Sigma virus and turned his desire to protect humanity into a desire to evolve Reploids by destroying humans. So, Zero was born to be the end of the world, and it was only by accidentally infecting Sigma that he gained the capacity to be a hero. Zero just wouldn't stay dead, and that's important. One thing I've always found both hilarious and moving about Zero is that he treats death like a suggestion. Throughout the Mega Man X series, he establishes a pattern of heroic sacrifice that defines his character. I remember the first time I saw Zero die in the original Mega Man X. He self-destructs to destroy Vile's ride armor because he knows X isn't strong enough to do it alone. At the time, we thought he was gone for good, but then came Mega Man X2. The X-Hunters had collected his parts, and if you played your cards right, you could help Dr. Kane rebuild him. This set a dangerous precedent. As long as Zero's core or parts existed, he could return. You could say he was like the phoenix of the Reploid world. The drama peaked in Mega Man X5. Zero was supposed to die for real here. Depending on the ending, he either dies in the crash of the Eurasia space colony or is wounded by Sigma. The game ends with X holding Zero's broken body, crying out in a scene that looked like it was the series finale. When Mega Man X6 happened, Capcom brought him back because of his massive popularity. And what was Zero's explanation here? I hid myself while I repaired myself. Honestly, as a kid, I didn't care how thin the logic was. I was just happy to have my Z-Saber back, but hear me out. I think this constant cycle of death and rebirth serves a specific purpose. It made us, the audience, to never fear for Zero. We assumed he had plot armor and he would just keep fighting forever alongside X. 100 years later, the world is way worse. When we transition from the X series to the Mega Man Zero series, the overall tone shifts dramatically. Suddenly, it's a post-apocalyptic tragedy. Zero has been in stasis for over 100 years, and he is found by a scientist named Seal in a forgotten lab. When he wakes up, he has amnesia. He doesn't remember Wily, he doesn't remember Sigma, and on top of that, he barely remembers X. The world he wakes into is a nightmare. This is the era of Neo Arcadia. What started as a utopia built by the original X to protect humans has turned into a fascist regime. Because of a global energy crisis, Reploids are being labelled Mavericks and executed just to save electricity. Next, we learn the history of what happened while Zero slept, the Elf Wars. This wiped out both humans and Reploids. To end it, the original Zero gave up his body for study, and his mind was placed into a new body. When Zero wakes up, he notices that the X ruling Neo Arcadia is actually a copy who lacks the original soul and compassion. This makes Zero the only one left to defend the weak against the legacy of his best friend. You'll find this setup brilliant because it puts Zero in a position where he is the underdog for the first time in his life. Ragnarok was the point of no return. Now we reach the emotional climax of the entire franchise, Mega Man Zero 4. By this point, Zero has defeated Copy X, survived the return of his original body in the form of Omega, and seen the world slowly start to heal. But one threat remains: Dr. Weil. He is a human, or at least he was. He was the mastermind behind the Elf Wars. Punished with immortality and a mechanical suit, he hates both humans and Reploids, and he wants to rule through fear. His final plan is Project Ragnarok. Now, for those who don't know, Ragnarok is a weaponized space station. When Dr. Wile's plans on Earth fail, he decides that if he can't rule the world, he'll burn it. He sets the station on a collision course with Area Zero, the last habitable place on Earth where nature is regrowing. Zero teleports into the falling station for one final confrontation. I've watched the footage of this battle hundreds of times, and the pacing is incredible. In the middle of their fight, the station is literally breaking apart around them. Zero defeats Viles initially, then Vile fuses himself directly into the station's core. He mocks Zero, telling him that if Zero destroys the core, the station will explode and Zero will die in the vacuum of space or the heat of the atmosphere. This is where Zero's character arc completes. In a conversation with the spirit of the original X, he is told that he can still be saved if he teleports now. Zero refuses and destroys the core, and of course the station shatters into a million pieces. The ending of Mega Man 04 is one of my favourite things of all time. We see Cell standing on Earth, looking up at the sky. She sees shooting stars falling down, but they are pieces of Ragnarok and Zero. She cries, hoping that he'll return like he always does. We see a cracked red helmet lying in the sand. No flashing lights, no hidden repairs, and no post-credits scene where he wakes up. In this timeline, the body of Zero is gone. Zero didn't come back, but his legacy did. Even though Zero's physical story ended in the desert, his data was too powerful to stay buried. This leads us into the Mega Man ZX series, set hundreds of years after 04. There's a thing with the souls and combat data of past heroes preserved in biometals, which are small artifacts. What I'm trying to say is that Zero's essence became the biometal Model Z. I love how it changes his role. So now when the protagonist uses Model Z, they gain Zero's powers. A man can die, a legend is immortal, right? In Mega Man ZX Advent, Model Z makes one last heroic stand by staying behind in a collapsing underwater base to hold back the villains so the new generation can escape. Since the ZX series was cut short, we never officially saw Model Z again. Is he still out there in a data chip? Maybe, but I think the suspense is better. Zero's whole life was spent being used as a tool by Wily, by the Hunters, by Neo Arcadia, but by finally disappearing he achieves the one thing he never had, and that is peace. Seeing his helmet in the sand still hurts, but it's a good kind of hurt. It's the ending he deserved. Do you like Zero more than X? If yes, comment down below, and thanks for watching.